Hi there, welcome to your next masterclass. This is an exciting topic today. We are going to be talking about the Hippocrates soup. So I am going to share my screen with you. I have a very interesting presentation prepared for you today. So here we go. See if you can see it. Perfect. So what you'll be learning today we're going to be talking about the Hippocrates soup. It is the key to nurturing and strengthening our gut. We are also going to be talking about the key macro minerals, meaning the most important minerals that we need in our bodies, and how we can where can we find them in food. And it's so connected because the reason why we're having the Hippocrates soup is because it has one of the macro minerals. And after doing a cleanse week, it is a perfect time in which our bodies are ready to take in and absorb in the best manner the minerals that we have in our food. In this case, would be through the Hippocrates soup. We're going to talk about how to reintroduce some of the foods that we have been eliminating, and then we're going to talk about the little by little habit. What are some of the things that you can do to celebrate every day? So the Hippocrates soup and its importance. So the Hippocrates soup, it is said to be invented by Hippocrates himself. And as we know, Hippocrates was the ancient, you could tell that it was the ancient medicine founder. We have the famous quote, "Let food be thy medicine," from Hippocrates. And so it became a little bit more popular in the 1930s with Dr. Gerson, Max Gerson. Actually, he is a specialist in cancer and treating clients that are chronically ill. And so he used the Hippocrates soup to help us detox the liver and the kidneys. It is also being called the potassium broth. And again, we're going to see in a little bit why potassium is so important, and is going to be one of the key factors in the Hippocrates soup. And in reality, the reason why I wanted to bring up the potassium specifically is because it has one of its main functions is to bring inner balance in within our inner chemistry. So what I mean by that is one of the functions of potassium is to bring the pH in our bodies to more of a neutral level, from being acidic into more of an alkaline, to more of an alkalinizer, so more into the alkalinized space. And so he says it right here. One of some of the things that brings us our pH more into the acidity space, it will be sugars, the carbs, the meat, stress, living a sedentary life, things that we've been trying to change as we're going through our program. And so it is important to understand that the more acidic our body is, then the more our health is going to start to break down. And in order for us to bring that health back, we need to do what we're doing. So detoxify it, de-acidify it, and alkalinize it. And so the Hippocrates soup is going to help us do that, as it says it here. And also, as we've learned through this program, one of the easiest ways for us to absorb nutrients is if it's in its easiest way to digest. Usually soups are one of them. So even though the Hippocrates soups can have two ways of making it or consuming it, I like creamy stuff, so I like to blend everything after it. Some people like to chew stuff, so you can eat it as well without blending it after. It is really up to you. The other key thing that I would mention with the Hippocrates soup is the recipe does not have salt, because we live in a life in which we already have so much sodium. So we're trying to eliminate some of the sodium, because the relationship between potassium and sodium, it's so unbalanced, and we're going to learn about that in a little bit. And so it is key, if you try and really can, to eliminate salt or sodium, specifically by not adding it into the Hippocrates soup. You're going to be able to actually taste the flavors of the veggies. I feel like nowadays everything is two flavors. It's either too sweet or too salty. So the Hippocrates soup, I am going to challenge you to reduce the sodium intake. Let's get that potassium inside of us, and let's make sure we are alkalinizing our bodies. So what are some of the macro minerals that we need? And what I mean by macro, usually we need a higher amount of them, usually in milligrams. We also have micro minerals, and we need them in even smaller amounts. So what are they? Calcium, magnesium, phosphorus, potassium, sodium, and chloride. Now we're going to go through each of them and the functions, how do we find them? How do we know if we have deficiencies in some of these macro minerals? So the first thing we're going to talk about, it's calcium. And we talked about calcium already, right? The myth of calcium that it can be found only in milk, when in reality, there's so many other sources of calcium. So in order for us to absorb calcium, we need to have a good levels of vitamin D. We also need to have a good digestive system that is able to properly absorb the calcium. So this is what we've been working on these weeks. And so one of the main functions of calcium, as we know already, is helpful to the health of our bones and their teeth, the muscle contraction, being able to calm our nervous system, and for blood clotting. Now, what are some of the sources of calcium? Dairy, of course, but we know it's not the biggest source of it. Sesame seeds have a lot. Spinach, collard greens, kelp, which is an algae, and almonds. So you get a lot of sources of calcium here. Now, how do you know that there's some deficiency in calcium in your body? If you're getting too many fractures, if you have any insomnia, depression, cramps, high blood sugar pressure. These are some of the symptoms of and what I call the branches of the tree. You know that I use this analogy a lot when we're trying to get to the roots of our issues. If you have a tree, think about the roots being in the ground and think about the things that we could do to nurture that tree so that the branches are healthy and we don't have things like depression or insomnia or cramps. So in order for us to shift the terrain to get those roots healthy, we need to heal our gut, and that's what we've been doing. So I love to throw this analogy every time I'm teaching a class so that it becomes ingrained in your brain, how our body and our health, it's very similar to a tree, and how we are in charge of nurturing those roots so that we can eliminate some of the branches, some of the issues that we might have in the branches. Now, there's also something important. There is a thing called calcium toxicity, or when you have too much calcium in your body. And that means that maybe you're having calcification, maybe you're having kidney stones. And so it's important because there are some hidden sources of calcium that aren't being able to be absorbed enough. And then some of them, for instance, could be in your antacid, like things like Tums may have calcium. Sometimes you can find them on other different supplements that are out there. And so if we're having too much calcium, there is a possibility that we have toxicity. And so, like I mentioned, kidney stones are one example of that. Now, the second one that I wanted to talk about was magnesium. What magnesium is the anti-stress mineral. I have magnesium every night. There are different kinds of magnesium. They could be glycinate magnesium, deglycinate magnesium. And so it really depends on what is the deficiency that you're trying to supplement. It is called, like I mentioned, the anti-stress mineral. It potentiates calcium, so it makes it a little bit easier to absorb. It also allows you with the production of energy. Some people take it because it helps the muscles relax, so it allows you to go to the bathroom and get that bowel movement as well. Sources of magnesium: pumpkin seeds, so key. Sesame seeds, almonds, spinach, Swiss chard, cacao. So for those of you that are enjoying those cacao elixirs or cacao desserts, this is why it is so important. Kelp also, and salmon. Now, magnesium deficiency, if you're feeling fatigued, weak, irritable, confused, you have insomnia, you have poor stress response, heart issues, there's just some examples of magnesium deficiency. And then also there can be magnesium toxicity. So if you're having too much magnesium, it can mean that your muscles are too weak. You can also experiment fatigue, and you can have hyper excitability. You get too excited. Now let's talk about potassium. So we were talking about the Hippocrates soup, or the potassium broth. Some of the important things or important functions that we already touched on will be the acid alkaline balance. Again, bringing back our bodies into the alkalinized spectrum of the pH. It is also great for blood pressure, muscle contraction, the synthesis of the amino acids in the protein. It helps metabolize the carbohydrates. So there's a picture of a banana. Some of the sources will be bananas, which are delicious. We are been having them in our smoothies every day, or not every day, but I usually do love bananas in my smoothies. You can also find them in apples, in papayas, in carrots, in potatoes, which are a big part of the Hippocrates soup. Carrots, Swiss chard, winter squash. Now, potassium deficiency. If you have hypertension, fatigue, depression, arrhythmia, muscle weakness, acne as well could be a sign of potassium deficiency. Now, this is something that I wanted to bring up. So, in the SAD diet, or the Standard American Diet, SAD diet, usually we have about 2-to-1 ratio of sodium of potassium of potassium. In reality, we need 5-to-1 of ratio of potassium and sodium for optimal health, or for real health, or not good health. But for optimal health, we need 100-to-1. And some of the examples that have 190 or closer to 1 ratio in actual foods will be apples. They have a ratio of 90-to-1 in terms of like potassium and sodium. Bananas, 440-to-1. Carrots, very close, 75-to-1. Oranges, 260-to-1. Potatoes, we're having potatoes in our soup, 110-to-1. So I hope it's clear by now the importance of potassium, the importance of this Hippocrates soup that we're going to be adding. And people ask me, okay, so are we really supposed to have soup for 3 days in a row? And I'm like, yes, that would be ideal if you just have soup 3 days in a row. If it's too much for you, that's fine. You can add some fruits, you can add some salad, you can add some veggies next to it, but no animal protein, and just really try to give your best to this potassium broth to help us realkalinize our bodies. Specifically, if you've been suffer from chronic illnesses, if you've suffered from, as we mentioned before, some of the deficiencies that we show in here, like fatigue, depression, muscle weakness. This is key soup to bring back whenever you're feeling not at your best. I should have some Hippocrates soup now, which with this congestion that it's happening because of the weather here. But oh wait, hold on, this is not what okay, here we go. So now we're going to move into the chloride. So the chloride, we have different functions for the chloride. Stomach acid, which is key to help us with our digestion process and our gut health. Again, important for the acid alkaline balance. Some of the sources of chloride could be in sea salt, in kelp, in olives, in tomatoes. This is what we're adding it again to the soup as well. Celery. And some of the deficiencies of chloride will be potassium loss, because chloride helps absorb the potassium. Metabolic acidosis as well, and then low fluid volume. So these are some of the deficiencies for chloride. Now, I wanted to check. There is supposed to look at the other sources, the other minerals here, which aren't showing for some reason, but I know I do have them. Here, manganese, and then phosphorus. Yeah, those are the two that were missing. Great. So we talked about magnesium. Here we go. So phosphorus. Some of the functions of phosphorus will be, again, the health of your bones and teeth, the growth and repair of our cells. It also helps maintain the pH, again, important for our alkalinizing our bodies. Some of the sources of phosphorus, they're in eggs, in broccoli, sardines, garlic, fennel, almonds, lentils. So phosphorus, again, another key macro mineral. Now let's talk about manganese. So manganese helps with blood sugar control, bone and joint health, the synthesis of hormones, and you can find them in Brazil nuts, almonds, pineapples or pecans, chickpeas, and brown rice. How do you know you have a deficiency in magnesium? Some of the factors could be that you feel weak, sterility. So manganese is really key if you're looking to get pregnant. So really key for those women out there that are in this parts of their lives that they're looking to get pregnant, and also for the guys too. So keep in mind, manganese will be a great addition for a macro mineral in your diet. And so that's it. So we went through the macro minerals, and now in terms of your next steps, I did want to talk about also what are some of the things that you could be doing to reincorporate new foods that we've already eliminated. And so this is not it. I apologize. Some technical here. It's this presentation today. Okay, so we're going to talk about some of the process of reintroducing food. So some of you are in this program and you are almost ready to be done. Some of you are not ready to be done. We're going to continue working with me, and that's totally fine. But I want you to keep in mind that whenever we are reintroducing new foods, it is important to make a conscious decision of what is it that we're going to introduce. And also make sure we're tracking what we're doing, what we're reintroducing, and we're tracking how we're feeling. So the first thing that we're going to think about is to really put an intention of what is the thing that I want to reintroduce? What is the thing that I feel could be less disturbing to my digestive system and to my process of gut healing? And so for some people, it might be coffee, that you guys don't feel like it made a huge difference and you want to bring it back and see how you feel. That's okay. For some people, might be, let's say, animal protein, like actual meat, because you feel like you really do well with that and you want to reintroduce it. So whatever it is, for some people, it'll be dairy, which I don't necessarily recommend. But if you feel like it doesn't make a big difference and you want to see how you feel as you reintroduce it, that's fine. The same thing with gluten. Not that it is recommended, but again, it's a time for you to experiment how you feel. So first of all, we're going to decide what food we're going to reintroduce by itself. So we're not going to add the dairy, the coffee, the meat all on top, because then we're not going to be able to understand and figure it out how our body is reacting to that addition. So what I want you to do is to pick one. Let's say it's going to be coffee. So the idea is that you're going to do, or let's say it's dairy. So the idea is that you're going to reintroduce it twice a day for 2 days and notice the difference. So you'll have milk in the morning, and then you have a dinner with cheese, for instance. And then the next day you'll have cheese in lunchtime, and then a dinner with cow's milk, for instance. And then you're going to you're going to experiment. How are you feeling? Are you feeling inflamed or bloated during this period, during the next 24 to 48 hours? How's your poop? Has it changed? Are you more, are you going anyways? Has the form changed? Has the color of the poop changed? Also, how about your mood? Are you now more reactive? Do you have brain fog? So these are all things that will be ideal for you to start reintroducing. If you're doing it with me as part of a continuation of our sessions together, I will be able to pinpoint if this is something that you actually should be removing, or if it's fine for you to add it. But if you're not doing it with me, it's totally fine. You are your best diagnoser at this point. So do it for 2 days. Stop, notice the difference. Stop for a day, don't eat it. Stop for a couple of days and don't eat it. Continue in the protocol. Don't start adding gluten and meat and everything together, because then you're gonna go back to the muddy waters, which are in your gut. Through the time that we've been working together, we're cleansing the muddy waters, we're removing the inflammatory foods, and if you're adding everything together, the mud is going to come back and you're not going to know what's making you feel what. So in order to try to prevent you from doing that, we're going to pick one food, we're going to add it 2 days, and we're going to continue to be in this protocol of gluten-free, dairy-free, sugar-free for as much as you can, and see how you feel. So it should be pretty simple. We are going to be able to talk about it more in our conversation next week. So that's what I wanted to leave you with. Next steps, please go to your Healthy app. And if you have issues, just let me know. Send me a email or send me a message through the Healthy app. And just look at your calendar and book a session for the upcoming week. My calendar is open. We can also, if I'm not available, we'll reschedule. But this is a session in which I want to review your goals. I want to review how you did, your functional nutrition timeline and matrix, and what are some of the specific next steps that you can take in order to continue this journey. So with that, thank you so much. It's been an honor teaching this class to you, and I will see you in the Healthy app. Bye.